Welcome to Echoes of Love. Tonight, we're diving into a tale of passion, betrayal, and the thirst for revenge that will leave you questioning everything. But be warned, once you step into this world, there's no turning back. If you're hooked, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story of love and vengeance. And if you have your own, share it in the comments. We might just turn your real-life tale into a video, with your name featured. Let's dive in. The rain was pounding so hard that night, it drowned out the sound of my own breath. My body collapsed in the mud, weak, starved, worked to the bone. I had spent years living for everyone else: Ellis, the fiend who swore he'd marry me, and my mother, who treated me like an extra mouth she wished she never had. As the storm raged, I clutched my chest, eyes blurring, and the last thought I had before the darkness swallowed me was bitter. So this is how it ends? I gave up everything for this? But when I opened my eyes again, the roar of a train filled my ears. The world wasn't cold and wet anymore. Instead, Mark's arms were around me, his face young again, his voice steady and full of fake confidence. "Lily, when I graduate, I'll come back and marry you." For a second, I thought I was hallucinating. My mind spun, flashing back to the years I sacrificed for him: my youth, my health, my dreams. And then, the truth hit me like thunder. I wasn't hallucinating. I had gone back, 18 years old, right at the beginning. My chest heaved. I shoved him with all my strength. His eyes widened as he stumbled back, clutching the envelope of money I had worked an entire summer to earn. The money I had given him in my last life, ruining myself for his future. Not this time. I crouched down, snatched the envelope from his hands, and glared into his shocked face. "Mark Ellis, I've changed my mind." His lips trembled. What do you mean?" I dusted off my clothes and stood tall. "I'm keeping this money. I'm going to college." The disbelief on his face was almost comical. "Then what about me, Lily? Didn't we already agree? I'm the man. I go to college. I get a good job, I provide. You're just a girl. You don't need to study." That was the exact same script he had used in my past life. His voice, his entitlement, his arrogance. My stomach turned. "Mark," I said coldly, "your future shouldn't be built by stepping on me. You want to study? Find your own way. From now on, you'll walk your path. I'll walk mine." He lunged to grab me, his voice breaking. "But you're my fiancé. We're promised since childhood." I shook off his hand. "A childhood betrothal means nothing in the 21st century. I'll tell my parents the engagement is over. Whether they agree or not, I don't care." For a moment, his face twisted with fury, the storm brewing in his eyes. Then he roared after me, "Lily Lane, you'll regret this." I didn't look back. When I reached home, my mother's voice cut through the air like a whip. She was bent over the wash basin, wringing out my brother Jake's dirty clothes. "Where have you been all afternoon? Come here and wash these." I looked at the pile of my brother's laundry and then at her face so full of scorn. My chest ached with the memory of the last life, of years spent breaking myself for them while they never spared a thought for me. "Let Jake wash them himself," I said flatly, and walked past her. Her voice exploded behind me like fireworks. "Ungrateful brat, waste of money. I should have thrown you in the river when you were born." Her insults hit the air, but not me. I had heard them all before. And now, they had no power. I packed that night. A backpack, my admission letter, my future. I left a signed letter of annulment on the table and walked into the night without looking back. By dawn, I was on the train, clutching my ticket with shaking hands. For the first time into lifetimes, the weight pressing down on my chest began to lift. Qingnan University's gates loomed large before me. In my last life, I had stood here too, but not for myself. Back then, I had come only to serve Mark meals in the cafeteria, to earn pennies while watching him thrive. And he hadn't even dared to acknowledge me in front of his classmates. "You're embarrassing me," he had said then, like I was some burden he had to hide. Not this time. I paid my tuition. I walked through those gates with my head held high. I was no longer someone's shadow. This was my beginning. But fate had a twisted sense of humor. As I came down the dorm stairs, my suitcase in hand, I collided head-on with Mark. His eyes darkened the moment he saw me. He grabbed my wrist. "Do you think I can't go to college without you?" I smiled coldly and yanked my hand free. "So what? If you had money, you wouldn't have begged for mine." His face flushed with anger. He leaned close, voice low and venomous. "You think an education will change anything? You're a woman. Even if you graduate, you'll still end up under a man. Don't dream of becoming a phoenix. You'll always be a crow. I slapped him. The sound cracked in the air, drawing the stares of passing students. His hand flew to his cheek, eyes wide with disbelief. You hit me? Yes, I said, my voice steel. And if you harass me again, I'll hit harder. From now on, we're strangers. Cross me again, Mark Ellis, and you'll regret it. I walked away before he could recover. My dorm roommate, Wendy, was unpacking with her parents when I arrived. Her mother gently made her bed. Her father wiped down the desk. The sight pierced me like glass. I had never known that kind of warmth. My parents had only ever saved kindness for my brother. Wendy smiled, offering her hand. Hi, new roommate. Her gesture was simple, but in that moment, I felt it. This life was different. I wasn't alone anymore. I worked harder than anyone else in my year. First row in every class, tutoring on weekends, serving food in the cafeteria at night. But this time, every coin I earned, every note I wrote, every step I took was for me. And then, one day at the cafeteria, the line shifted, and there he was again, Mark Ellis, holding out his tray. He leaned close, whispering, Lily, can you give me some meat for free? My parents didn't give me much for living expenses. The audacity almost made me laugh. In my last life, I had starved while he feasted on my sacrifice. Not this time. I dropped the ladle with a clang. Swipe your card or step aside. Don't waste my time. His face fell, pale and tight, but he swiped his card and walked away. The line moved on. My hands trembled, but inside, I felt a fire burning. This time, it was different. This time, I was in control. But fate wasn't done testing me. One evening, as I walked back to the dorms, I saw my younger brother, Jake, rushing toward me, breathless. Sis, Mom's in the hospital. She hurt her leg. You need to come. My gut twisted. I followed him. In the ward, I found not just my mother, but also my aunt, the city relative who always looked down on us. She sneered the moment she saw me. Lily, what's the point of college? Look at your mother, sick and suffering while you waste money studying. My mother chimed in, her voice sharp. That's right, you're selfish. Your brother still has exams. You should quit and work to support us. My blood ran cold. The same lines, the same suffocating chains, but not this time. The ward smelled like bleach and anger. My aunt's voice was already slicing me open. Quit school, work. Your mother needs you. My mother glared from the bed, leg bandaged, eyes burning with entitlement. My brother, Jake, kept his head down, playing loyal son with a guilty twitch in his jaw. I said nothing. I watched. I listened. I waited for the lie to reveal itself. The lie showed its face when my aunt's phone lit up. Loud ringtone. No shame. She stepped into the hall to answer. I followed with silent feet. Her voice dropped to a hiss. She's here. Get the girl to sign. Once she signs as guarantor, we can pull the money. The other 200,000? Don't mention it. My heart slammed the door on fear. The 200,000, my father's compensation. In my last life, that money vanished like smoke. Now I had a scent to chase. I walked back in, expression calm, blood boiling hot. Where are the papers? I asked. My mother blinked. What papers? I smiled without warmth. Admission, cost estimates, insurance proof. She fumbled. Jake rushed to the bedside table and handed me a folder. I flipped through. Bills, sheets, a receipt, a settlement note. The number glared at me like a taunt. 200,000. The truth cut cleaner than any blade. You lied, I said softly. My mother's face hardened. Don't you use that tone. I raised you. I opened the door to the hall and waved my aunt back in. Raise your voice outside. Speak carefully inside. My aunt scoffed. You little brat. I held up the settlement note. Silence strangled her sentence. The next words were my point of no return. I will not be your guarantor. I will not be your cow. I will not be your daughter for sale. My mother grabbed the bed rail. You heartless. I stepped closer until our breath touched. You want money? Use the 200,000 you hid. Use the son you adore. Use your own hands. Jake paled. My aunt opened her mouth. I handed her the settlement note like a mirror. And you? Don't pretend virtue while counting interest. The nurse poked her head in. No fighting in the ward. I smiled at the nurse. We're done. I set the folder down and turned to leave. My mother threw words like stones. If you leave, I'll go to your school and drag you out. I'll ruin you. I stopped at the door. I didn't turn around. Try me. But if you touch my life, I will take Jake's with yours. I'll pull every thread you're trying to weave. I have nothing to lose. Her breath hitched. Fear finally found her. Campus felt like oxygen after poison, but poison travels fast. By the next week, whispers stalked me down the corridor. She has a sponsor, luxury shoes, easy money. The rumor had Mark's breath on it, his work, his spite, his fear that I could exist without him. I let it grow. I let it gather. Then I loaded my proof. The cafeteria at noon is a courtroom. Lines form. Voices swell. Witnesses abound. I called the RA, Mr. Shen, the senior with quiet eyes and calm hands. I asked the counselor to drop by for lunch. I told Wendy to stand near. And when Mark joined the line, tray wobbling, eyes already glassy with rage, I braced the final nail. He shoved his tray to the counter. Meat, he said loudly. A lot. I scooped vegetables. I stared through him. Swipe card. He leaned in, stage whisper venom. Come on, Lily. You get free things all the time. Don't play pure. The crowd stirred. The counselor paused. The RA listened. I raised my voice. It rang like glass. I pay for my life. Every day. You pay for yours or you don't eat. Heads turned. Phones rose. Mark laughed. It was ugly. Ask her where she got those shoes. Ask her why she enters that fancy neighborhood. Ask her who she sleeps with. Blood roared in my ears. I held the ladle steady. I spoke slowly. Ask me. The counselor cleared her throat. Miss Lane? I lifted my backpack onto the counter and pulled out my folder. Receipts, bank statements, domain registration, shipping slips, inventory logs, photos of stacked parcels, a spreadsheet printed and stapled. The evidence sang a clean song. This, I said, tapping the printout, is the website I built. These are orders. These are payments. These are deliveries. That neighborhood? My client's building. She buys wholesale. I deliver. My money? Mine. The RA nodded and addressed the crowd. If you spread lies, you can be disciplined. The counselor's gaze sliced to Mark. If you defame a student, there will be consequences. Mark's mouth opened and closed like a fish. The phones captured every frame. I expected him to retreat. He didn't. He lunged for volume. She's lying. She can't build a website. She's a girl from a village. She can barely. A voice behind him cut in, warm and steady. Then she can show you the code. Mr. Shen stepped to my side like a wall. And I'll verify it. I met his eyes. Calm, clean, professional. His quiet presence steadied the ground under me. We booked a room that afternoon. We plugged in a projector. I opened my laptop and spun the back end open. HTML, CSS, a simple cart, a basic admin panel. Mr. Shen asked questions that felt like handrails. Why this route? Why this naming? Where is your backup? I answered with my hands typing, showing. The counselor watched. Mark sulked in the corner, fists clenched, jaw grinding. The RA closed his notebook. It's hers. The counselor nodded once. This matter is closed. Mr. Ellis, you are warned. Mark glared at me like a cornered animal. You'll pay for this. I smiled. I already did. In my last life, business grew like a secret garden. One customer told another. Orders multiplied. I woke at 5. I packed until dawn. I rode buses to the wholesale market with a list and a hard face. I learned negotiation. I learned to say no. I learned to inspect stitching, smell fabric, test zippers, and walk away when a vendor tried to cheat me. I found a small factory that listened when I asked for clean seams and honest invoices. I built a simple blog. I wrote about fit. I wrote about comfort. I wrote about the giddy feeling when a dress finally matched the girl who wore it. People responded, not to the clothes, to the care. Money didn't flood in. It dripped. Then it trickled. Then it gathered into a stream. The first month covered rice and rent. The third paid my tuition back to myself. The fifth tasted like freedom. Mark tasted failure. His internship interviews collapsed. His grades dragged. Emily's patience thinned. I saw him groveling outside the library one evening, bouquet in hand, watching a girl toss petals into a trash can. He saw me watching. He lifted his chin like a dare. You think you're better? My answer was a steady walk past him and the trash can humming with bees. The investigation didn't end with my family. I needed to close the door softly but firmly. I went home one weekend, not to beg, not to break, but to check. The village head remembered me from school awards. He remembered the accident. He remembered the payout. He leaned across his desk with a tired sigh. Your mother took it, all of it. Said it was for your brother's schooling. Said you were engaged and would marry soon. The words didn't stab. They confirmed. They cooled my heart to a hard, shiny stone. I filed a notice at the local station. Not a lawsuit. Not yet. A complaint on record. Harassment prevention. A paper shield. I took copies. I carried them like talismans. And then I did the quietest, sharpest thing I could do. I changed my number. Back on campus, midterms hit like hail. I didn't flinch. I applied to transfer to computer science. The department head raised an eyebrow. You know this is tough. I nodded. So am I. He studied my scores. He studied my blog traffic graph when I showed it to him like a pulse. Hard work shows, he said. Let's see if it holds. I sat in the front row with a rented C book and hands that shook only before the first compile. The night the first big shipment went missing, I didn't cry. The boxes had been scanned out, then lost in the belly of a warehouse. I stared at the tracking numbers like a doctor reading silent EKG lines. Customers started messaging. Where is it? Is it delayed? Should I cancel? My breath hitched. My hands steadied. I typed apologies. I offered refunds or replacements. I ate the cost. I learned a new rule. Bad news travels faster than the wind. Honesty flies faster. 2 days later, the warehouse found the boxes. The manager winked. Service fee. I smiled without warmth. Receipt. He laughed. I lifted my phone and tapped record. He stopped laughing. He lowered the fee to 0. I raised customer confidence to 10. I wrote a blog post about logistics. I listed tracking tips. I shared my shipping map. People followed, not just to shop, but to learn. Mark followed too. He printed my product photos and slapped his watermark on top. He spun up a copycat page with a name 1 letter off. He DM'd my customers with discounts. He messaged Emily, begging for marketing money to beat a scammer. He messaged me, if you had given me the money, I wouldn't need to do this. I filed takedowns with screenshots and timestamps. The platform took him down twice. He returned a 3rd time like a weed with bad roots. I called the factory and locked a simple contract. Unique SKUs, distinct tags inside the seams, hidden marks even cameras miss. He delivered fakes to a girl with sharp eyes. She posted, she tagged. He bled followers into the drain. He sent me a voice note that sounded like a growl. You think you won? I'm not done. Emily wasn't either. Her voice rose outside the campus gates on her birthday, the crowd thick with curiosity. You can't even buy me a bag? We're done if you don't bring one by next week. Mark tried to smile. He looked at me over her shoulder like I was a pharmacy window. Lily, lend me 20,000. I swear I'll pay you back. My laugh was short. I'm not a bank. I'm a warning. The warning wasn't just for him. It was for me. Don't soften. Don't slip. Don't forget the grave you crawled out of. I pushed the business harder. I automated. I hired a part-time packer, a girl with quick hands and a quicker smile. I wrote stricter SOPs. I built a spreadsheet that purred like an engine. I finished the semester top 5. I earned a scholarship. I slept on buses and in books and between batches of printed shipping labels. I broke and rebuilt myself into a girl who could carry weight and not complain. Then the rumor came back, uglier, sharper, wearing my mother's tongue. She marched into the counselor's office with Mark flanking like a dog. She's corrupt. She's got a man. She's abandoned her family. I walked into the room with a folder under my arm and fire in my bones. The counselor lifted her palms. Let's be civil. My mother sneered. You have money. Give it to your brother. 200,000 for his marriage. You have to. I set the folder down. I opened it like a promise. I pay my own tuition. I pay my own rent. I pay my own life. You hid money. You threatened me. You slandered me. The counselor's face tightened at the word slandered. I slid the complaint copy across the desk. The stamp gleamed. My mother stared. Mark blanched. The RA, standing by the door, crossed his arms and spoke in that calm, steady voice. Ma'am, the school will not tolerate harassment. Sir, the school will not tolerate defamation. This student has provided evidence. You have provided insults. My mother's mouth twisted. Mark's eyes flicked to the counselor. The counselor spoke like a judge. This conversation is over. We walked out. Mark caught my wrist in the hallway. Please, lend me the money. Just this once. Emily will leave. I pulled my hand free like fire avoids water. Go borrow from your pride. That night, the sky cracked open with rain again. I stood by the window and watched the glass bead with cold water. I felt the fear try to climb back into my throat. I swallowed it whole. I texted Mr. Shen one sentence. I need to scale. He replied in two. Come to the lab. We'll make a plan. We sketched the plan on a whiteboard at 2 a.m. Caffeine humming like neon in my veins. Strip the site to the studs. Rebuild the cart. Automate inventory. Lock vendors. Hide watermarks inside seams. Split testing on product pages. A referral loop that rewarded sharing with discounts I could afford. Mr. Shen drew boxes, arrows, fire breaks. You scale by making mistakes smaller, he said. I wrote it on a post-it and stuck it to my laptop like a vow. The first test launch crashed in 9 minutes. Good. Weak points revealed themselves like bad welds. I rewired the checkout, sharded the images, killed the dead scripts. The second launch held. Orders climbed in clean steps. A student posted her dress on the forum. Comments poured in. Quality shocked me. She replies at midnight. Size guide is accurate. I answered every message like it was the last rope on a cliff. Then the blow landed from the dark. My supplier doubled prices overnight. Market changes, he shrugged. Pay or wait. I didn't. I booked a bus at dawn, rode 4 hours to a factory that had once laughed at my tiny orders. I walked in with data, 30-day volume, return rate, trend curve. I laid my numbers on their scarred table and passed the manager a contract with calm hands. You handle production. I handle demand. Payment on delivery. No funny invoices. No shortcuts. You ship on time. I scale your line in 6 months. He eyed the sheet like a map out of debt. He shook my hand before lunch. Growth felt like standing on a moving train. I learned quick fixes that weren't. I learned to hire. The first time I handed a stack of packages to my quick hands, quicker laugh, I felt my lungs open. If we do this right, I told her, we both climb. She grinned. Then tie the rope tight. Mark tried cutting the rope. He broke into my admin with a guest password from our village days, slipping in through a form I hadn't hardened. He scraped customer emails and blasted them with refund offers if they sent him bank details. A girl forwarded me the message at 2 a.m. Fear in every line. I didn't panic. I pulled logs, traced the IP, changed every key, and sent a midnight report to the platform's abuse desk with proofs, headers, timestamps. I filed a police report for unlawful access. I CC'd the counselor. At noon, Mark's account vanished. At 2, the officer called. We spoke to him. At 3, Emily was yelling at him outside the east gate, mascara streaking like tire marks. You're a thief, Mark. I didn't celebrate. I hardened more. 2-factor everywhere. Off-site backups. Vendor rotation. I learned to be paranoid without becoming poisoned. Then the call came that cracked everything open. A small investment company wanted coffee. The man across the table wore a clean watch and a smile that bent wrong. $30 million to acquire the store, he said, like saying the weather. My breath stuttered. My mind didn't. I asked for a week. I called 3 mentors I'd found by writing emails at 3 a.m. to strangers who had done the thing I wanted to do. They all asked the same question. What do you want, more cash now or control later? I wanted both. My father's ghost asked for safety first. I signed. 30 million hit like a quiet earthquake. I didn't buy anything pretty. I bought time. I bought distance. I bought 2 small apartments, one near campus, one downtown because I knew where the curve was bending. I bought a plane ticket in my head and a year's worth of language books in my hands. Masters in Milan. Not a fantasy anymore. A line drawn in ink. The night before the deal closed, I walked back to the dorm with a bag of buns and my heart bucking like a startled horse. Mr. Shen sat on the steps, sleeves rolled, hair messy, a quiet smile like a hand held out. You did it, he said. My throat tightened. I did it. His shoulder brushed mine, warm, steady. The air between us filled with something new and careful. He didn't push. He didn't pry. He stood up and said, "Don't forget to sleep." I wanted to tell him I was scared of wanting anything that wasn't survival. I said, "I won't," and almost believed it. Mark didn't congratulate me. He cornered me beside the mailroom, eyes wild, breath sour. "Give me a cut," he whispered, the hiss of a snake. "You used my ideas." I stared. "What ideas?" He jabbed a finger at my chest. "We planned a future. You owe me." I let the silence hum until it hurt him. "I owe the girl I killed in a storm," I said softly. "Not you." He looked at me like he could chew my bones. You think you're safe now? Money goes. People stay. I smiled. Exactly why I'm choosing mine carefully. My mother chose me for extraction. She and Jake camped at my door, buzzing like FLIs. We're family, she cooed, the sugar souring in her mouth. Give Jake 200,000 for his marriage. Give me a key. I carried my suitcase past them like a shield and walked to a hotel. The next morning, I handed a real estate agent my power of attorney, signed to sell both apartments, and booked the earliest flight out once the paperwork would clear. At a notary, I wrote in black ink where my money goes if I don't make it to 40. An animal rescue. No names listed. No edges for anyone to claw. I studied. I ran. I planned. I slept in airports and woke in classrooms. IELTS bowed. The admission letter to Milan straightened in my hands like a sword. I left a copy of my harassment complaint at the campus gate with the security office, not as a threat, but as a line they could show anyone who claimed me like a prize. Wendy squeezed my hand until our knuckles blanched. Text me when you land. I will. We both knew I would disappear into a new life like a ship sliding into winter fog. The day I wore black to sign in blue, the 30 million appeared in my account without fanfare. I ate noodles at a plastic table, staring at numbers that once would have seemed like fiction. I slept the next 2 nights, not because I had time, but because I needed a brain that could dream in more than survival. I rented out the apartments first, then changed my mind after hearing 2 women laughing in the hallway about a daughter who doesn't know how lucky she is. Sale papers were quicker than forgiveness. The agent called. We have buyers. I didn't ask who. I told him to donate a slice of my fee to the scholarship fund for first-generation girls who wanted to go where the boys were told they belonged. I added a line naming the fund after my father. The pen didn't shake. Before Milan, I took a week and rode buses across the country alone. Mountains, rivers, cheap inns with clean sheets and surprising kindness. I learned the weight of my own silence. I learned I could eat alone at a table and not shrink. I learned that grief and freedom tasted similar, like air after rain. When I returned, my mother lay in wait like a nut. She stormed the counselor's office with Mark at her elbow. She's corrupt. She's immoral. Expel her. The counselor had seen the receipts, the code, the stamps. She didn't blink. We protect our students. My mother's eyes slid to me, hunting for weakness. Your brother met a girl, 200,000 dowry. You're his sister. I kept my face cut from stone. I'm not a bank. I am not a line item on your budget. You hid the compensation when Dad died. You tried to sell me. I am finished paying for your choices. Mark tried the old tone, the pleading that sounds like love until you count the costs. Lily, please, just this once. I looked at him the way you look at a mirror that lies. Go beg the man you'll be in 10 years. He needs practice. Then I boarded a plane. Milan smelled like coffee and old stone and mornings that begin with light instead of alarms. I sat in lecture halls with students who argued about drape and seam allowances like they were debating fate. I learned fabric the way I'd learned code, by touching, by tearing, by failing, by fixing. I kept my blog alive at night, posting drawings, fitting notes, stories about the girls who bought a dress and walked differently the next day. People followed. People asked for more. When the program ended, I didn't go home. I built. I launched a line with 3 silhouettes and 10 colors and a promise. No lies, no lazy seams, no exploitation. The first month limped. The 3rd ran. The 6th flew. I opened a tiny store in a quiet street that became loud with lines. 8 years turned like pages. I went back only when the city called for a ribbon cutting, my brand name taller than me on a mall banner. I would have once pressed my cheek against just to feel something cold and expensive. My car door opened. The air smelled like new marble and marketing budgets. Cameras flashed. The mall manager's smile shone like a trophy. My heels clicked like a metronome measuring a life in even beats. He was there, Mark Ellis. Security uniform crisp, posture stiff, eyes stunned. Our gazes collided like 2 stones dropped in a shallow river. Recognition rippled. He lifted a hand, not a wave, more a reflex, an old muscle looking for kindness. I gave him the smallest nod a person can give without lying. No gloat, no taunt, just the truth. We had walked different roads. I turned away and followed the manager into the bright, cold elevator that smelled like polish and money. Later, over tea that cooled and touched, my childhood neighbor, Shashan, messaged like a bell. You won't believe it. but I believed it already. Mark had failed to many classes. No diploma. He had pinballed between jobs, pride cutting him every time. Nearly 30. No career. No wife. He had learned that the world doesn't pay boys for promises. It bills them for outcomes. My mother had broken her back 5 years earlier. Jake had drained her account to fund a girlfriend's shop. The girlfriend ran. The shop died. My mother scolded the neighbors daily. Tears and bitterness mixed like old soup. If only I'd treated Lily better. She wanted me to be the latter. She forgot I was the one who built ladders for herself. Jake refused to work, orbiting the house like a loose satellite, crashing, asking, blaming. They lived in the echo of the word daughter they had thrown away. I read the messages on a beach chair in the Maldives, the sea making a sound like the inside of a seashell. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel pity. I felt the outline of a life traced by my own hand. I closed the chat. I opened my email. A draft to my lawyer waited. Renew the clause donating my assets to an animal rescue if I go before I make a family. I added another document, a scholarship for girls from villages with a sentence that tasted like everything I had to swallow to get here. For the ones called Crow who were always Phoenix. And then I stood, walked into the warm water, and let it hold me like no one ever had. The storm that killed me had taught me the only lesson I needed. No one is coming. Save yourself first. Love the ones who choose you. Build what you wished existed. And when the past knocks, answer with a life so complete it can't fit through the door.